These two cars were built in the same year, in the same darkness, for the same reason: to frighten you. A small, obsessive workshop in Germany stuffed a 6.0-liter V8 into a family sedan and pointed it at 188 miles per hour. A dying American car division took a humble V6, handed it to McLaren, lied about how powerful it was, and built something that could embarrass a Ferrari. The prototype Hammer was built from the cheapest car AMG could find, a 200D, not even a proper petrol engine in the donor car. And the man who secretly built the GNX? He was defying direct orders from his own general manager to do it. These weren't just fast cars, they were two completely different answers to the same question. What does engineering actually mean when there are no rules left to follow? By the end of this video, you will understand exactly which philosophy won the decade, and it is not the one you think. The 1970s were chrome and anxiety. Every car wore its ambition on its bumpers, bright, loud, reflective. Then the oil crisis hit. Then stagflation. Then something shifted in the psychology of money itself. By the early 1980s, the men who had real wealth, the kind that didn't need to announce itself, started buying black cars. Sociologists called it the retreat from conspicuous consumption. Car designers called it dechroming. The people who bought these cars called it Tuesday. The Buick Grand National arrived in 1984, all black, all business, looking like something a shady guy would drive to the supermarket to buy an axe and rope. The press immediately nicknamed it Darth Vader's car. Here's something almost nobody knows. The Grand National name came from NASCAR, specifically from Buick's dominance of the Grand National Racing Series in the early 1980s. But by the time the road car arrived, Buick had actually stopped racing. They were trading on a legacy they had already retired. The car was faster than the heritage it was celebrating. Meanwhile, in Affalterbach, Germany, a village so small it barely registers on a map, two former Mercedes engineers named Hans Werner and Erhard Melcher were doing something equally quiet and equally violent. They were building a car that looked exactly like a sensible middle-class Mercedes sedan. Because it was. And that was entirely the point. Both cars understood the same thing. The most intimidating vehicle on any road is the one that doesn't look like it's trying. Now, the engines. Because this is where the two cars stop agreeing on everything. AMG's starting point was the Mercedes M117, the V8 that lived in the S-Class. They bored it out, stroked it, built custom 4-valve per cylinder DOHC cylinder heads from scratch, by hand, in a small workshop. The very first Hammer prototype was built not from a 300E, but from the cheapest W124 AMG could find on a forecourt, a diesel 200D, in blue-black metallic. The entire diesel fuel system, tank, pumps, lines, had to be ripped out before a single engine bolt could be turned. They were that careful with their money. The result? 380 horsepower, 417 pound-feet of torque, and a top speed of 188 miles per hour. In a 4-door family car with rear seats and a boot large enough for a week's worth of groceries. Car and Driver tested it and called it the most exciting sedan they had ever driven. It could pull from 60 to 120 miles per hour faster than a Lamborghini Countach. And then there's the Buick. 3.8 liters, 6 cylinders, 2 fewer than the Hammer, nearly half the displacement. Faster off the line. Here's the lie that made the GNX legendary. Buick officially rated it at 276 horsepower. Independent testing found it was making over 300, with more than 400 pound-feet of torque. Buick knew. They deliberately sandbagged the numbers during quarter-mile testing, too. Their own engineers intentionally ran slower times at the strip to avoid triggering a political war inside General Motors. Because if the GNX officially outran the Corvette division would have demanded they kill it. So they hid the numbers. The secret weapon was a Garrett T3 turbocharger fitted with a ceramic turbine wheel, a material previously used almost exclusively in aerospace applications. ASC McLaren, the American Performance Division, not the Formula One team, also revised the torque converter, added a dedicated transmission cooler, and fitted a limited-slip rear axle with a ratio calculated specifically for maximum off-the-line violence. The mechanical philosophies are almost theological in their opposition. AMG said, "Give the engine more room, more cylinders, more displacement. Let physics do the work." The GNX said, "No, you don't need more engine. You need more pressure." But raw power is just noise. What turns noise into dominance is what happens underneath the car. And here is where these two machines reveal their deepest personalities. The Hammer's multi-link rear suspension was a heavily revised version of the system Mercedes had developed for the W124's standard road manners. AMG stiffened the springs, fitted Bilstein dampers, and recalibrated the entire geometry to handle torque loads that the original engineers had never contemplated, while still maintaining the composed, fluid ride quality that a Mercedes buyer expected. This is the German philosophy in its purest expression. The car must be fast and comfortable simultaneously. The GNX took a completely different position. Its suspension was not designed for the Autobahn. It was designed for one specific moment, the moment the traffic light turns green. The GNX received a unique rear differential cover, one designed exclusively for this car and never used on any other production vehicle. Attached to it was a longitudinal torque arm that connected back to the transmission tunnel, working in concert with a panhard bar to eliminate the axle windup that had plagued drag racers for decades. It is a car built around a single, violent moment, and that moment takes 4.7 seconds. The Ferrari 328, slower. The Porsche 911 Turbo, slower. The Lamborghini Countach, slower off the line. GNX number 1 resides permanently in the GM Heritage Collection. It has never been sold. Number 547, the last one built, sold at auction for well over $200,000. And every single original buyer received something else in the box. A custom embroidered jacket. Those jackets, mostly lost or worn out, now sell independently for up to $4,000 each. In 2024, Kendrick Lamar named his album GNX. Not after a person, not after a movement, after a car. A 1987 Buick. A car that Buick's own general manager tried to kill. The GNX chief engineer, Dave Sharp, was explicitly told by Buick general manager Ed Mertz that the car didn't fit the brand image. Substantial, distinctive, powerful, and mature was the official Buick brief. The GNX was none of those things. It was just the fastest thing in America. that the entire world now knows by name. The AMG Hammer? Somewhere between 13 and 30 cars were built on American soil by one man, Hartmut Feyhl, working alone in a facility in Westmont, Illinois. He built each car by hand, engine to engine bay, suspension component by suspension component. Some were delivered to collectors who never drove them. One was built for a Beverly Hills dealership. The total worldwide production is unknown. AMG never kept proper records. The number 30 to 54 is the best estimate history has. For a car that defined what a performance sedan could be, that ambiguity is almost poetic. Today, a documented Hammer with low mileage can reach over $500,000. A clean GNX crosses six figures routinely and continues to climb. Both cars are doing exactly what they did in 1987, increasing in value while being impossible to ignore. Their DNA is everywhere. Every AMG Black Series carries the Hammer's central argument that a luxury car should be able to destroy a sports car without apologizing for being comfortable. Every turbocharged performance V6, the Nissan GT-R, the Ford GT, the Alfa Romeo Quadrifoglio, owes something to what Buick proved, that displacement is not the point. Pressure is the point. So which philosophy won? The honest answer is that they didn't solve the same problem. The Hammer was the engineering of confidence. It said, "We have the resources, the knowledge, and the absolute certainty that more is more." And it was right. The GNX was the engineering of defiance. It said, "We have almost nothing, a dying platform, a management that doesn't want us, and 200 fewer cubic inches than the competition." And it was faster anyway. One car was built by a small German workshop counting every Deutschmark. The other was built in secret by an engineer who was one meeting away from being fired. Neither car played it safe. Neither car played by the rules. The 70s gave you chrome. The 80s gave you the dark nights. If this video taught you something you didn't know, leave a comment with your dark night of choice and share it with one person who you think might be in the dark about 1980s performance cars.